That's fascinating because, when you become friends with people who do business and do multiple businesses and you get a friend that gives you that phone call and says, yo, I think I got it. I guess, how do you know when an idea is really the idea?
Well, the first thing that we did was test marketing. We didn't just go buy a whole bunch of Slingshots and see what happened. We did some research. We found out it was only like 1 or 2 people in Atlanta doing it at the time.
Wow.
And then the first thing we did was create a site. We created the booking calendar. We made it seem like the Slingshots were already there. All right, and then we just promoted. The minute we promoted, I mean, within the first week, we pretty made like 15,000 before we even bought the first Slingshot. So once we started getting phone calls and everyone's calling, we were getting 60, 70 phone calls a day. So when that happened, it was like, how much money is it costing us not to do it right now?
Exactly. What's going on, everyone? We are back for yet another amazing episode of Finding Your Niche with Niche. I like having people on the show who really have honed in what the show is all about, having one specific niche. Though he does many things. Today we're really excited to have Akeem Reed on the show, the king of Slingshots. Welcome so much to
Thank
the
you,
show.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you. Like I kind of said at the top of this introduction, obviously you're here to, mainly speak about the slingshot industry, but of course you do so many different things. I'm so excited to kind of pick your brain. I've been watching a lot of your content and you're so well-rounded. It's just like the kind of person that needs to be with me wherever I go, whenever I do business. So I'm very thankful to have you on the show today. So
most definitely.
Let's kind of start at the beginning, right? So you're from South Carolina?
Yes.
Okay.
Georgetown.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I lived in Charleston for a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I actually grew up in Somerville. I was born in Georgetown, grew up in Somerville, and then moved back to Georgetown.
Okay, very cool. One of the really cool things I like about your story is because I would also classify it as kind of like a rags to riches, so to speak. Yeah. You also high school dropout?
Yes.
Felon?
Yes.
Turned successful entrepreneur?
Yes.
All right.
Well, I was actually an entrepreneur. That's what got me the felonies. But it was just a legal business.
Okay.
So I had to go legit on that one.
Okay. Can you talk to me a little bit about, the inception of you becoming the Akeem that we see today? What was that initial thing that happened to you, or was there an isolated moment that made you decide to actually do business the right way?
I just didn't want to go back. Yeah, that was pretty much, jail ain't fun, you know what I mean? Having a chip on your shoulder and being denied opportunities just wasn't something I was a fan of at all. And especially, having a celly and smelling other guys, use the bathroom.
Yeah, I don't know, but.
Yeah, no, it's not fun. So I did anything not to go back, So the biggest thing that I think with anyone is really changing your mindset and knowing that you can do something else besides, a lot of people get stuck in what they already know, right? And it's easy to get stuck in that same place and doing things that are familiar to you. So with me, I just had to break out of that shell, really. And, when I first stopped, I just quit. And at that point, I never had a job besides washing dishes.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only thing I was really experiencing.
Yeah.
So I just had to let go of the ego, and I went back to that. And I went from making thousands and thousands of dollars to washing dishes at a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
And
I know another part, speaking of the humility and you said, kind of getting rid of your ego, one of the other things that you were trying to do is coming from that, what was that mental shift to get rid of the ego? Because it sounds easier than done. What kind of work did you have to do in order to do that?
Well, for me, it was just cases, you know what I mean? Fighting cases and just, like I said, I didn't want to go back. So I was like, whatever I got to do to not go back, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Where did you get your business savvy from? Was this something that was in your family, or did you read or watch somebody that kind of inspired you to be this way?
Oh, well, it just comes up. You just want more. I think it was a thing where I just always wanted more, And, I saw people have money around me, and I just wanted it too. So I at first I just chased anything I could do, from selling bootleg shoes to marijuana to crack. You know, whatever paid was what it was. Starting a business was a little different because you needed to really have more focus. The streets is like a marketplace. It's like business in itself is like a marketplace, or whatever niche that you're in. So when it came to me having a business, it was pretty much the same flow of it. It's just because I first started a mall kiosk business, my first legitimate business, and it was the same thing, really. Once you figure out the market and what the market demand is, you really just hone into that. And like I said, when starting a real legitimate business, it takes a lot more focus, you know. And that was the real changer for me, was to really go in and focus on one specific thing until I get it right to move on to something else.
Yeah. I'm very interested to hear the story about the very first time that you encountered Slingshots and how you decided, I want to do that too.
It was interesting. Great question. So it was really almost like a desperation move at the time. It was during the pandemic. My beauty salons were shut down. And the world was on lockdown. I didn't have an essential business, right? So, you know, we were thinking I had a phone call with my buddy, my business partner, and we're just thinking of like, what can we do? Like, what's next? Like,
trying not to panic.
Yeah, we're trying not to panic. Like, what's gonna happen? Like, Jesus Christ, and you just think about the market still, right? Because that's one of the things that, you know, you get tied to as the business. You think about the market and what the market shifts are. So we understood a lot of people were just stuck in the house, just like we were. And people wanted to go outside. And what's funny is we actually went on a camping trip during the pandemic. Okay. And it was packed. Like,
really?
Yeah, we've been on a camping trip before, but this time it was like people were just staying there. So we're like, yo, what can we create? Like, people to be outside, they can have fun. So at the time we were looking at Turo, and Turo businesses were down at the time, and we were just thinking. So, and this comes from the power of proximity, right?
Right.
So during that time, my man was doing his taxes, and he happened to be on the phone with his CPA.
Okay.
And his CPA, he just kind of like overheard a conversation, right? He said, damn, this guy made a lot of money or something like that. He was like, well, what'd he do? He was like, he rents Slingshot. So my man calls me, he's like, yo, I got it. So I think within a week, we put the business together.
Wow. I think that's really cool and that's fascinating because, you know, when you become friends with people who do business and do multiple businesses and you get a friend that gives you that phone call and says, yo, I think I got it. I guess, how do you know when an idea is really the idea?
Well, the first thing that we did was test marketing. We didn't just go buy a whole bunch of Slingshots and see what happened. We did some research. We found out it was only like 1 or 2 people in Atlanta doing it at the time.
Wow.
And then the first thing we did was create a site. We created the booking calendar. We made it seem like the Slingshots were already there. All right. And then we just promoted. The minute we promoted, I mean, within the first week, we pretty made like 15,000 before we even bought the first Slingshot. So once we like started getting phone calls and everyone's calling, we were getting 60, 70 phone calls a day. So when that happened, it was like, how much money is it costing us not to do it right now?
Exactly.
You know, so we just.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that's a good problem to have, I would say.
Yeah, it was. I'm not complaining.
That's so interesting. I'm also interested to know, like, when you said, you know, you started the websites, you guys were putting stuff out there before even having the Slingshots. What was it that you think that you did business-wise or marketing-wise that caught people's attention?
Well, it was a number of things. We didn't just say it was coming. Like, we didn't tell people it was coming. We really like put it in our minds that we were gonna do it.
Yeah.
But we just didn't really know the extent of what we were gonna do it. Like, we didn't know if we were gonna get 1 Slingshot, 2 Slingshots, and just like kind of do something during that time, because we knew eventually it would get back right, but we just didn't know how much money we'd lose in the process, right? So, doing it that way, we really saw the demand. We really saw the demand and we gauged it. And I'm sorry, what was the question?
No. I was just asking, how do you really know when this is going to be the business? Because when you're a serial entrepreneur and you have a lot of different businesses, it's like you get those phone calls, but it's like, how do you really know that, oh no, this is up?
Oh, we were charging. Yeah, we didn't just see how many people contacted us. No, we actually charged them. So that's how we made the money before we got the first Slingshot. So we had 15 grand in the bank account. It was like, what are we gonna do? Refund them? You know what I mean? So we went and found a Slingshot.
That's lit. Okay, so then we fast forward and you guys end up being the fastest growing Slingshot network in the country.
Yeah.
How, Sway?
So basically, once that happened, it just caught wind. It was like one of those things where you just gotta, everyone you talk to, you just gotta tell them about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, what's
so
going on?
you were one of those.
Yeah. I call people about businesses I just thinking of sometimes. So it's like, yo, this is what we gotta do. So at that point, it was like, it was working.
Yeah.
Right? And so we just called whoever we knew at the time, like, yo, anybody just happened to have a conversation with, like, this is what I'm doing, this is what it's doing. You gotta get in on this.
Yeah.
And people just, they went for it. You know, so we ended up doing, first we were looking at franchise. And then once we started looking at the franchise fees and the lawyers and the time it takes, we were just like, you know what? Let's just tell people about it, give them a business opportunity, set it up for them, because a lot of people, they don't want to go through the technical stuff of it. And we just opened up locations like with Carl in Macon. He was like, yeah, I want to do it. So we put him in position to do so. And then Buckhead and then Memphis, and it just kept
What do
going.
you think it is about Slingshots? Because that is something that I like. When you say the pandemic, I feel like the time frame was when that's when I started just be, on the interstate driving, and all of a sudden I see these people on these like, oh, what is that, an adult go-kart? Like, what is going on? And so can you kind of talk about what do you think it is, and why do you think people like Slingshots so much?
It was really, Slingshot's been out for a while. The reason they got so popular is because they just, in 2020, they just came out with them in automatic. And 18% of people can only drive a stick, so you got 88% more people that can actually, have access to it and drive it. And I just think it looks cool, and the perceived value of it is a lot higher than, say, a Honda Civic or anything.
Really?
Yeah, like people associate Slingshots with like exotics,
Okay.
So when it first came out, it was new, it was exciting, it was fun, it fed people's needs, it fit people's needs, and it was just a winner.
Yeah. And I think Atlanta's a really cool place, obviously, to have the Slingshot industry. But from what I understand, you guys in 8 other cities or
Yes.
9 other cities?
Yeah, we're in Atlanta, Savannah, Macon, Augusta, Myrtle Beach, Memphis, Dallas. We had a location in Tampa, but we got rid of that location in Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when essentially the formula is the same, right? For the most part, you just do what you did in one city and another. Or are there different stipulations when it comes to having a Slingshot rental company in a specific city?
Well, like say for instance Myrtle Beach, right?
Okay.
It's more of a touristy, or even Miami, right? It's more of a touristy. Atlanta is like everything's far, kind of. Nothing's like, you're not gonna really be centrally in one area.
Yeah.
Where you have Miami, you can just ride up and down the strip, and you're not really going more than 10 miles radius, right? And so for those places, we actually rent more by the hour there versus Atlanta. I mean, you can't do anything in an hour in Atlanta. Like, you can't even go from one exit back in time in Atlanta. So we rent more by the day. Okay. So that's the real only differences. And in Miami, it's a lot more competition too. So it's mostly about like impulse sales in Miami versus Atlanta. People are coming to search for you.
Yeah. So is it that people want to be, is it basically when you think of the Slingshots, is it that people want to drive them for a long time, like a long stretch?
Well, in Miami, not really.
They just want to flex.
Yeah, they just want to ride for a few hours and give it back.
Okay.
Versus Atlanta, they're going to be in it all day, all tomorrow. And
okay.
You can really get the experience. The weather here is crazy, so it might rain especially during the summer, it might rain for a couple hours. So they're like, well, we didn't get to go here in it, so we're going to go there tomorrow.
Exactly. Okay, so when you think about somebody having it for a day, what does that cost?
It starts at $325, depending on the model. So it could go up to like $400.
Wow. And that's competitive?
No, not really.
Really?
No, because most people, they get a Slingshot, and then the first thing they do is go on Turo, use other car sharing platforms where they're competing by price, and it ends up turning a business into a commodity, like who can charge the lowest. And you're never going to make money doing that. So what we did was we don't use Turo or any other car sharing platform. We do everything on our own. And so when people come to us, they get the highest price. They don't have anywhere else to look.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good play. So then when when people are coming to you and the demand is really high, how have you guys been able to kind of, I guess, keep up with the actual demand? And what obstacles? Did you guys run into any obstacles with that?
No, well, when we first started, I actually did it out my house, right?
Wow.
So Slingshot customers,
Wait, they would come to your house?
yeah, I just had them come to the house, And
Doing it ugly.
yeah, my neighbors were like, I mean, these
Akeem.
These guys will pull up, blasting music, blunts in their mouth, pistol falling, dropping out their waist when they get out the car. My neighbor just cutting his grass. His little 6-year-old kid is running around outside. He's like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? And yeah, so eventually I got an HOA complaint.
Okay.
And that's, say the least. And so from there, I end up meeting them up the street.
Got you.
But that was when we only had like 3 or 4 units. Once you start picking it up to 10, 12 units, it was like, this can't work anymore. Like, we need a location from here on out.
Wow. So you ended up just getting kind of just like a big warehouse to kind of house them all.
Yeah.
With the actual Slingshots themselves, what have you found to be like, because they look simple, they look easy, they're small, they're fast, they're packed with a lot of power, but what is the actual maintenance or preventative maintenance that takes place when you have so many?
Really just having a really reliable tire person, So what I like to do, I have a few tire people, but what I like to do, I like to tell them, hey, I'm back in season. This is my tires. Because really you're just replacing the back tire mostly because it gets burnt out so much. So you really just go into the tire people like, this is what we're doing. We're ordering 10, 15 tires this season. And then I'll come back when I need some more. And then get them all changed out at the beginning of the season. And as it goes, just make sure our tire guy is in stock.
Yeah. With this specific industry, being in this Slingshot network, it's kind of like what we talked about at the top of the interview. It's very niche down. With this, you're kind of at the top of your game, right? Because it's not necessarily oversaturated yet, but yet you teach people how to have their own Slingshot rentals.
Yes.
Does that intimidate you at all? Because you're actually asking people and allowing people, not allowing, but you're inviting them to be a part of an industry that could also drive your numbers down.
Right. And it's funny you ask that because a lot of people, they always like, hey, why are you teaching them? Like, oh, because me and my partner were going back and forth. Like the first year, I was like, yo, we got to tell everybody.
Yeah.
He was like, no.
No, we don't.
let's just do it more. And then we told him, I was like, no, man, we got to tell him.
Yeah.
And so we ended up like going back and forth for a while. But then when we started thinking about franchising, we kind of went back to it. Like, we'll just tell them.
Yeah.
And I've had about 4 or 5 students in Atlanta come through. And it works out because when they're out of units, they come to me and get more units. Okay. When I'm out of units or something happened or I got a problem or somebody wants to extend and I'm already booked, I go to them. Oh, we need more units. So the amount of units that are available and the demand for the product isn't comparable. Like we probably couldn't even get enough units in time to actually fit the full demand of the business.
That's good. Speaking of you being very forthcoming with like information and knowledge, like your Instagram, at least, it might be your YouTube as well. You just give a ton of game. And I'm always fascinated by people who are able to actually do that.
Right.
Because it's just like so much value, so much value that you're giving out essentially for free. Where did that come from? That just came from, a level of trying to learn how to market really and just doing it, because I've bought courses before, I've learned from people before, and, sometimes I see people even now, I don't even know what they're selling, most of the time. So when you buy the offer, it's like you don't even know what you bought, you know? Yeah.
I just bought something the other day from someone. I didn't even know what he was selling. He was just like making it seem like this is the best thing ever, and you need this. You get it for a lifetime, and I've been going live on it. I bought it. I looked at it once. I was like, I didn't charge it back, but I really had a good mind to it. When you charge stuff back, you have to change the credit card information. I got too many stuff coming out off that card, so I was like, whatever. But it really just comes from, really, the goal is to help, from whatever point you can. So you might, and you might not, I might be in a specific niche where if I just put content about this one particular thing, it might not help the next person, right? But in business, things like go align, like they cross over. So I put content out that crosses over, so it doesn't really matter what type of business that you're in, you're gonna get some information.
Give me an example of what you mean when you say that crosses over.
Like when I go talk about marketing, right? Marketing applies to every business, right? When I talk about credit, credit applies to every business. I'm not a financial credit guru or anything, but I've done enough where I can help someone else. With they getting to that point to where it can help them.
One of the things that you're helping people, I'm really excited for you. Knowledge into Cash book. Can you talk a little bit about this? Because it says a complete guide to turning what you already know into a cash machine through ebooks, digital courses, and coaching programs. That's a lot. So you're teaching all of that in this book? Yes.
Well, the book actually comes with about 5 or 6 training courses along with it.
Okay.
To help you better understand and grasp the full concepts of the book. But this is like, I love this book.
Yeah? Why?
Because I put so much in the book that I wish I knew when I first started. And I really find it helpful. Even myself, I go back and I've probably read the book 10 times already. But I go back and I read it. And it just comes with something with writing and sharing information sometimes. You forget sometimes what you already know.
Yeah.
And to be able to relearn something you've already learned, it just broadens your sight. Really.
Yeah.
And insight to what you've already been doing, what's already worked for you. And sometimes it takes a step back to see the bigger picture. Right? So sometimes taking a step back is going through your own past experiences.
Yeah.
And being able to, log it, journal it, or whatever, and put it somewhere where you can go back and refresh your memory, it's helped me. So, that's why I wrote it.
Okay, I'm going to pick something that's out of the book, that's from the book that I want you to kind of explain or just give us a little sample of what you mean by that. Okay, so this part says the art of proper execution.
Yeah, that's my favorite right there.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of people, we have ideas, entrepreneurs, we want to move this way, move this way, move this way, and we have so many ideas. Sometimes a lot of it doesn't get done. Like how many times, we were just talking about this the other day. How many times have you had
I'm starting to get offended. I feel like you're talking to me.
How many times have you had a really great idea, waited on it, and then you actually saw someone else actually execute it?
Yeah, that's a no-go.
And then you're just criticizing them like,
I would have done it.
I would have done it this way. I would have done it that way. They didn't do it right.
Yeah.
But you never did it. You know what I mean?
Dang.
And so the art of proper execution is to really pick something and just do it. And at the end of the day, it's either going to be a lesson or a blessing at the end.
Yeah. But I feel like, again, I guess another one of those things is like it's easier said than done. What have you been able to do to kind of unlock that, I guess, I don't know, the fear? Because I feel like that's what gets a lot of people, is just fear and ignorance that keeps them and prevents them from doing those ideas. So what is it that you're doing or that you have unlocked in order for you to be able to execute so well?
For one, like you made an interesting point, a lot of it is fear. Right? It's the fear of going broke mostly for entrepreneurs. Like, what happens if it doesn't work? I'm not gonna have this, I'm not gonna have that. And really just other people's experiences with their businesses. Like I know multimillionaires that went broke and they're like my same age and they went broke and broke again.
Yeah.
It's like the cycle, and just not being afraid to just do it anyway. Because if the desire is there, you're gonna do it, and you're gonna do it to the best of your ability. So just having that self-confidence for one in you, that this is how I'm gonna do it, and just executing a proper plan for action. Right. I think most of the time, even too, some people just move, but they're actually moving forward. They're just moving around, and it's about actually having a detailed plan to execute on something and make it more successful than even what you thought it was going to be, if you have the detailed plan to do so.
Yeah. I think one of the one of the most interesting things too about business when people go into it, there is a chance that the business could fail, right? Can you talk about a business endeavor that you actually pursued and it failed and what you learned from that?
I've had a lot of businesses fail. I've had a lot of businesses fail. Where do I start? So I was getting in like club promotion at one point.
Okay.
And I have a whole story about this, but I worked for like 2 years. Like when I first moved to Atlanta, like I had a stolen car.
Okay.
And on top of that, the transmission went out in the stolen
Ooh.
car. So I couldn't make it past third gear. Like the fastest I go was 45 miles an hour. The great thing about it is I like live right down the street from the house, right? So it was literally like a 3-mile drive.
Okay.
And this through back roads.
Yeah.
Right? So for about 1.5 years, I just drove that car just back and forth to work. When I first moved to Atlanta, I didn't come to Atlanta. I went to Atlanta one time.
Okay.
Because I was interested to ride the MARTA. And I just took the
okay.
MARTA bus and I went to Atlanta. Came
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
But for the first 2 years, I never came to Atlanta. So I ended up saving all my money for like the first 2 years. Saved every dollar I could save. So my partner calls me. He's like, Akeem, I'm getting married day after your birthday. I want you to be at the wedding. I know you're probably going out. I know you're in Atlanta. So I'm like, how about this? And, let's create an opportunity from this. My partner's getting married. He got to have a bachelor party. I'm the best man.
Oh, God.
Let's throw a party.
Oh, God. Where's this going?
Oh, man. It went nowhere. I picked Columbia.
Okay.
As a place to throw the party. Got Jose Guapo at the time and I think K-Stylist. By the time I spent everything, it was like 18 grand in on the party.
Whew.
I picked, like it was during like some type of break, like a spring break or something like, not spring break, it was Thanksgiving break. It was Thanksgiving break. Picked up the Thanksgiving break. And I didn't think that I'm throwing a college party in a college town and everyone's gonna be home for the holidays.
But it's supposed to just be a bachelor party.
Well, I wanted it to be a bachelor
Just something
party.
kind of low key for y'all.
Well, here's the thing. It was supposed to be that. But the thing was, I was missing Black Friday at the malls, right? So I pretty much was like, I was going to make thousands of dollars at the malls already. How can I still make that money if I'm not there? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make money from this. So he did this thing. K-Stylist ended up breaking his leg, so he didn't show up. Then he made an Instagram post saying he wasn't showing up, so the girls weren't coming. Then it was the holidays, people weren't. Benedict, Allen, USC, all these people were gone.
So who was at the party?
It was the city came out. It was a bunch of locals,
Shout out to the local.
I didn't. It was completely horrible.
Snap. Okay, wait.
And I didn't let that stop me though.
Okay, go ahead.
I did it again the next month.
Oh.
That time, the only people that showed up was me and my friends.
Wow.
But then it was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna do it again.
Wow.
So I said third time's a charm.
Wow.
At this point, I think I just messed all my money up. Like I have no money to pay the malls. I'm living so frugally that at the time I just wasn't out of a house. So I did it again. This time, didn't nobody show up.
Wow.
The DJ takes a picture of the party, like this is what losing money looks like. Posts it on Facebook and Instagram. The Kappas, like we went to Orangeburg, we did it in Orangeburg. The Kappas actually had a frat party, like that same day.
Wow.
Didn't know anything about the frat party.
It was lit over there.
It was going crazy over there.
Wow.
So we went by the frat party, it was jumping. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. So then after he posted the picture, he's like, he kind of sees what's happening. Like,
yeah.
I'm looking at the door. You know what I'm saying?
And if they come in, they probably just gonna come after they go to the.
So then he's just like, yo, you got to hit me with the back payment.
Ooh.
I was like, bro, you just posted this. Why you ain't just say you was lit over here?
Yeah.
At least a couple people could have came. So anyway, DJ Cleve, you know, we chopped it up, but what ended up happening was some artists had paid to perform.
Okay. To nobody.
Right.
Okay.
Thank God. One of the artists, he didn't care who showed up. He was getting on the stage and he was performing.
That's what I'm talking about.
So he ended up giving me some money, like, yo, I'm gonna go on there, just put me on video.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, all right, bet. You know what I'm saying? So I took the camera, he rapping on stage. I'm like, oh, it's lit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he actually gave me the money to go pay DJ Cleve.
Wow.
And yeah, after that, I didn't even have any money to do it after that. It was a wrap. It was done. Actually, I did do a speed dating event after that. The
Okay.
speed dating event worked.
Okay.
Yeah, I did end up doing
But
speed
what
dating.
was the? Are you saying that the mall stuff was the business that flopped?
No,
And
it was the
biggest. So what was your biggest?
business.
Oh, the promotion. So
Yeah,
what was your
I
biggest
lost
takeaway
all
from
my
that?
money in that. And then, really, I just learned that I'm not really a great promoter. And it's not my thing, you know. And yeah, because there was a lot with that. I had to go to other people's events, and they'd come to mine, and they'll promote mine. I had to. Yeah, it was too many moving pieces, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And I didn't like it. So after that, I mean, when I was in the Italian ice business, I did an ice cream truck.
What haven't you done at this point? Like, what is next that you're like, oh my God, I want to do that and haven't? Because you are like very, very multifaceted.
Yeah, I just think it's the ADHD.
Okay.
You know, the ADHD kicks in. It's like, okay, well, I can do
Yeah,
this
yeah.
and do this and do this.
Yeah.
But it still takes focus at that same point, because you got to understand the market that you're in.
Yeah.
If you understand the market, you can see what your customers want. And I think, especially when I did the promotion thing, I didn't know anything about that. I wasn't in that field. I was just trying to make some money, you know, which, I mean, I could have made some money.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything about it. And I think that was the biggest thing I learned from that. Like, Akeem, don't switch markets like that. Like, you switch totally, like, out of left field. And, you know, I made those mistakes because I didn't understand the market. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand the customers. I didn't understand any of that. I just thought, hey, let's do a big party. Everyone's going to come because everyone just wants to go to a club on a Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was the biggest takeaway that I got from doing that.
However, you have managed to be very, very successful in business, despite the pitfalls, you know, despite the failures. I would credit you as being a successful entrepreneur. What would you say, though, if somebody wants to be an entrepreneur, what have you found to be the common denominator when it comes to doing business? What is that thing that you do that has worked through and through?
Oh, when I go from one business to the next and figure out what works, it's almost like you don't really know what's gonna work. You just do it, you know. And but the most common denominator, like I said before, is really just knowing the market. Like when I was in the mall kiosk business, like at one point I had 13 kiosks going on all at once, and they were all making money. And it's just because I just was in it for so long and I studied it for so long. So I saw what people didn't have here. When I did the Italian ice business, I understood, like, there wasn't really too many snack places that were different. You got the candy stores or whatever, but I was like, there's no Italian ice here. And then when I looked it up, I was like, oh, there's no Italian ice. The only person that had Italian ice was Rio's Italian Ice, which now is my mentor. At the time, I didn't know him. And when I saw that, I was like, yo, everyone likes Italian ice. Like, it's a family mall, it's low cost, it's high profit margins, and it fits. And it's really cheap to do, you know? And most of the business I've ever done that made the most money didn't really cost me a lot to actually do.
I think that's a very, very key point, because a lot of people are intimidated by the costs, right? We talked about that a little bit earlier. And when you say understanding the market, I want you to kind of, like, I don't know, pinpoint that a little bit more, what you mean. Like, what kind of research are you doing? How do you even know? When you're saying, like, people are not buying Italian ice, like, how do you even know about Italian ice? Like, what are you doing as far as, like, the research to figure out, okay, what business can I start where there's a demand or a need that's not being filled?
Well, first it comes with like understanding the customers, right? And in that place that you're in, right? So when I was doing the mall thing, I just understood who my customers were. And at the time I was selling like energy bracelets where you stand on one leg and they tell you to do the balance. And I was doing that. And I was just meeting so many people just being there.
Okay.
And so, you know, I started to know them all. I started to know when people have the most family time. I started like Sundays, it's more families in the mall on Sundays. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, it's not really like that. And once I started understanding, like, I saw Auntie Anne's line. They had a line wrapped around the corner every single weekend. So I'm like, people like snacks.
Yep.
They want snacks.
Yep.
But then I'm looking at the mall, and there's no snacks on this whole side of the mall. So it just made me think, like, what can I put here to serve the people like me who ain't standing in line,
Yeah.
who do want just a snack, want something different. And that's when I decided to pull the trigger on Tiny Ice Business. I wanted something that get something cheap.
Yeah.
I want them to get something that they weren't getting anywhere else. I like being the only person in certain things. I think that's another common denominator. I like being the only person doing this one specific
Or at least
thing.
the first.
Or even the first. But in my area, the people I'm around that I'm, you know, thinking about putting a business or whatever, I want to be that person that you have to come to me. You know, and that's what is really like knowing who your customer is, knowing who your dream customer is, where they are, what they want, what their budget is, and just putting something there for them that, you know, they're gonna appreciate at the end of the day. So yeah, that's what made me do the Tiny Ice Business, and I understood gifts during the holidays, so I did gift kiosks like sneakers and slippers and stuff like that, and stuffed animals, and you just start to learn, you know, you start to pick up on it. Like you in doing podcasting, like you're gonna see like what your dream customer wants. They're gonna tell you, you know, and if you pay attention, eventually you're gonna say, hey, this is what we're shifting to. We're expanding on this, or we're gonna tune off on this and do this instead.
Yeah.
And it allows you to pivot in a more predictable way than just guessing like I did with the clubs, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just guessing about a market I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
Instead, I turned around and I did more kiosks as soon as I, you know, came up with some money, and they all just worked, and I was, you know, I went from broke to being back having money again.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so as we get ready to close, because I feel like a lot of your content is evolved around how people can become more business savvy, and have, you know, more business acumen and just strategies, I guess, for how they do business. What would you say, like, if you were to give somebody advice? Like, Akeem, I want to start a business today. I don't know where to start or what to do. What would be the first step?
The first step is do what you really want to do. You know, do what you're really like passionate about. Don't just, I mean, it's okay if you're just starting. Like, chase every opportunity. Like, don't say no to opportunity. Just do it, you know, because eventually you learn from your mistakes, and the things that you're actually happen to be good at, you're going to be great at, you know, because you're doing what you want to do, so it doesn't really feel like a job. It doesn't really feel like you're forcing yourself to do something. And I mean, sometimes businesses change, you know, you have changed feelings about them. You might outgrow a business. And that's a lot of the times, especially with my mom kiosks, I feel like I just outgrew the business. I always told myself I'm not going to be doing this when I'm 30, you know, and eventually I just did more things and more things and more things and more things. And eventually it just accumulated to, I learned these different skill sets when it comes to identifying, you know, better businesses for myself. So once I learned that, that was really the game changer now. Now if it's not gonna make me a certain amount of money, I'm not doing it. If it doesn't cause me to think and like be a creative like I wanna do, I'm not gonna do it. If it doesn't require me if it requires me to just be outside and getting dirty or something like that, I'm definitely not doing it. You know what I mean? And so now I'm able to just pick what I wanna do. And I think that's what the end result is about. It's doing what you want to do. But I think at the beginning, you just take every opportunity that comes your way. Just take it.
That's good. Something that I'm always like really, really interested in also knowing with people is because I'm introspective. So I do a lot of like inward work and thinking about, you know, how I can become better and stuff like that. What has been a dominant thought for you? Like when you're in your quiet time and you think about who Akeem is or how can I become a better version of Akeem, what thoughts come to mind?
I always want to just have an impact, really. You know, and everything I do, I want to impact someone else in the long run. So, you know, when I sit in front of the mirror and I'm talking to myself and I actually just give speeches, like sometimes. I just be in the house like,
wow.
There's somebody coming in like, who you talking to? I'll be in there just talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that really is who your character is when no one's looking. You know, it's what do you do? What do you think about? And I think I've manipulated myself to just, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. And I do it when I'm by myself.
What's the end game for you? What's the next big business that you want to pursue? Or when you think about yourself, I guess at the height or the peak of your success, what does that look like?
It's a great question. That's a really good question. I actually have to think about that.
Okay. You'll get back to me on that.
Yeah. I really just, like I said, I just want to have an impact so much that it just carries down as like, you ever like, I'm from a small town, right? Everyone knew my grandfather.
Yeah.
Right? To this day.
Yeah.
I get stuff because of who my grandfather was, right? Or he helped them, or he did something for him, or because he had a farm, right? So he used to look out for people, give them jobs.
Yeah.
And to this day, that resonated with me. You know, like having an impact so much that it carries beyond, you know, your lifetime. And even when we talk about like everlasting life, I feel like that's what it is. It's like creating such an impact on the universe that your kids and your grandkids get to enjoy with the work that you put in. It doesn't have anything to do with money. It has everything to do with the people's lives you changed while you were here.
Well, I already think you're off to an amazing start when it comes to creating impact. If people also want to be on the other end of receiving that impact, how can they do that? How can they reach you? How can they buy the book?
You can definitely follow me on Instagram at ThinkAkeem, knowledgeindthecashbook.com. And this book is actually charging for it, but if they use the link, Clint will figure that out. So by the time they see this,
Clint's in the background. If y'all don't know what Akeem is talking about, Clint is behind the scenes, and he's the mastermind at funnels and all the things.
Yeah, so Clint will figure that out, and they get a free copy. How about that?
Oh, snap. I'm about to go right now. I'm about to leave you on this couch. No, for sure. And if they want to reach out to you, social media, and just learn some of the business tips and the game that you give, how can they do that?
Think Akeem. Find me on YouTube at Akeem Reed. And knowledgeindthecashbook.com. Make sure, if you don't do anything, get your copy. You have to get your copy. You have to get your copy.
All right, Akeem, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you,
I,
Nisha.
of course, wish you continued success in everything that you do.
Hey, you too. And this is dope. I
Thank
didn't know what I was expecting when I was like, oh, snap. Yeah. It's dope right here.
I love to see it.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, peace.